Hello, and I will put my microphone close to me, which I often forget to do. Hello, and welcome to another fun-filled edition of Adam's Music Box, where today I want to talk about a man who I put on the list of the greatest guitar players of all time, which was a video that I put out a few months back. But Jose Feliciano was truly and is truly one of the very, very best. Now, he was unique for several reasons. His primary style of guitar was acoustic, very much influenced by the great Spanish guitar style, that neoclassical style, people like Andreas Segovia. He was also very influenced by jazz. You can hear some Wes Montgomery in his style of playing, but he really was a man who blazed his own trail. In an age when everyone was going electric, he was primarily associated with acoustic. And when he did play electric, he played it in a very eclectic way. He was quite the wild man on electric, playing it while sitting down, but absolutely wailing. And you can see some videos of him playing Hendrix covers like Purple Haze on electric. And you see how he really is just sort of uses that style of playing that's so precise and refined and fast that he played on his acoustic and just sort of transpose that onto electric where it just takes on a life of his own. Such an interesting player. Another thing that made him unique is that he was blind, and I believe he was either born blind or blind very early into his youth. And because of this, he taught himself how to play in a style that, again, was really his own. And when you hear Jose Feliciano play guitar, even before he sings, because he's got a really good and distinctive voice, you can tell that it's him because he's got this very uniquely identifiable style. And the other thing that I think makes him unique is that his two most famous recordings, one is a cover and the other is a Christmas song, and yet he still continued to write so many great compositions. Now, obviously, his what brought him into sort of the national and international spotlight was his rendition of The Doors' "Light My Fire," which is really, in many ways, it retains the eerie tension, the darkness of the original, but presents it in a very different light. But so popular was his version of "Light My Fire" that I actually remember people who would have been middle-aged in the 60s. And when I was just in casually mentioning something about the Doors to them, and they thought, oh, they must have done a cover of this young man, he was young at the time, this young man's song "Light My Fire." Obviously, it was the other way around. The Doors' Robbie Krieger wrote it, but that is how pervasive the song was. And because he was on RCA Records, a respectable label, and because he appealed more to sort of the older and younger crowd simultaneously, because of the way the music was marketed, a sort of sophisticated Latino jazz, a lot of people got to hear Light My Fire in this more palatable version who wouldn't be caught dead listening to the Doors because they were just too much for the youngsters out there. But that's not to say that he didn't add some really interesting flourishes to the song. He most certainly did. And he proved this maxim that I've always gone by, which is if it is a good song, it can be good across genres and across styles. A bad song, by contrast, needs to sort of live and die by the style of performance with which its original version is associated. And Light My Fire, one of the greatest songs ever, definitely passes this test. He also did a wonderful version of California Dreaming by the Mamas and the Papas. Again, proves that a great song can transpose between different genres. And he wrote a lot himself. He did one called No Dogs Allowed about how he was having trouble traveling to an English tour in the late 60s with his seeing eye guide dog. That was an interesting one. And probably his, even though he's done album after album, he wrote the theme music to Chico and the Man, very famous, very popular television sitcom in the 70s. But his most famous song of all was a Christmas song, and it's one that you have all heard, even if you don't necessarily associate it with its composer. But this was Feliz Navidad in 1970. It was an instant classic. It combined both Spanish and English. It was a very lighthearted Christmas song, but again, instantly recognizable. And it's really good that he wrote it because playing and performing cover music doesn't often pay the bills because the lion's share will always go to the composer rather than the performer. But in writing a Christmas song, he really, he got things taken care of because if you have a hit song that's a Christmas song, you're guaranteed to have a really good several months out of the year every single year. And just think about that. Um, some songs are really popular for a year or two, and then they either disappear or are consigned to sort of rotation on a radio station back when radio was a thing that people cared about playing legacy music. But when it comes to a Christmas song, if it's a big one, it will be played every year on the radio, in shopping centers, in grocery stores. Playlists made by companies like Spotify and Apple will include your song in their Christmas playlist, which they can come up with several every year. So that was really fortunate for him. But fortunately for audiences, you can still hear him because he's really just a great, great musician, no matter how you look at it. Really, really talented, very unique. And if you listen to his guitar technique, you'll see why I put him on the list of the best ever. Like, subscribe. We will see you next time. Take care.